A report came out today that Russia is helping Iran. This probably came, I believe, from the New York Times or Washington Post, one of them, right? And it's all over the news, right? They're saying, well, Russia is the one showing Iran where to shoot American assets. Now, why is it that this is coming out now? Because we all know that they knew from the very beginning that Russia and China are helping Iran. When you look at the way that Iran conducted the 12 days conflict with Israel and the way they are conducting it now, we know for sure that they are getting a tremendous amount of help. And so why are they talking about this now? Because I've been saying this for many years, that it's impossible that Russia and China will allow Iran to fall. Iran is a major asset to both of those countries. If they allow Iran to fall, that means that their investment, right, their partnerships, and even the trust with other partners is definitely going to be a blow. For the United States attacking Iran, this is a good opportunity to go after Russia and China. And for Israel, it's simply an opportunity for them to put the entire region in chaos so they can dominate. They don't care about democracy or anything like that. So why are they talking about Russia now? The reason is that the United States is not trying to get out of this conflict. They know that they made a major mistake. It has been a failure at every front that you see it. The United States is not winning anywhere in this conflict. They did not expect that Iran was going to respond this way. It is extremely surprising to them. And so saying that Iran is beating the both of them, the superpower or the most powerful country on earth with Israel, that they call a great power in the region, and you have Iran by itself, beating the two countries and adding other Gulf countries is embarrassing, extremely embarrassing. And so the United States also had a bad news today that the Kurds have decided that they will not put their boots on the ground and be the sacrificial lamb for the United States. They told the United States, look, if you want us to put our boots on the ground, put your troops first. So they received this bad news, and that's why Trump came out and said, look, we're no longer contemplating troops on the ground. News are starting to come out that the U.S. is lying about the number of casualties. Americans are not talking about it because as of now, most media outside of the U.S. are saying that casualties are more than 500. And we're talking about U.S. soldiers. And so the reason why they are bringing Russia in right now is that when they decide to leave this conflict, they will say, we don't want war against Russia, and that is why we prefer to get out of this conflict. They're looking for a way out, but from the very beginning, their intelligence, whether it's the Mossad or CIA, they knew that Russia was, helping Iran, providing them with weapons, air defense system, and all of that stuff. They knew that. And I said here many times that this will be an opportunity for Russia to get back at the US and Europe. And I said in my last video that this conflict is not going to be a quick conflict that will end. Just the way that Iran is conducting itself shows you that they have planned for a long conflict. And by confirming that Russia is in this conflict, it is definitely going to be a long conflict. Just look at the way Russia is running Ukraine. People, are running their mouth. They're not understanding why is it that Russia is dragging this conflict out with Ukraine. And I've said before here that Russia will not miss this opportunity to get back at the United States for helping Ukraine kill all of those Russian soldiers and to get back at Europe, for participating in that and also for the sanctions. Because now everybody is saying that Russia is taking this opportunity. And if Russia is benefiting from this conflict right now, trust me, they are not about to give up in that. They will do everything in their power to make sure that this conflict go at least 1 year. Even if the United States decide to leave this conflict, Iran will continue to bomb Israel because Israel is too proud and too arrogant to just quit and say, look, we don't want to be part of this anymore. So Israel will want to continue this conflict. And if they continue this conflict, it's only going to play in the hands of Russia and China, of course. Because just look at the entire situation. Russia is benefiting from the oil. Now, Donald Trump is saying that they've given a pass to India for 30 days to buy Russian oil. Now, India did not stop buying Russian oil, right? At the same time, gas price is going up in Europe. And they're now contemplating going back to Russia and say, look, we need gas. And Russia will take this opportunity to get back at them. If Russia signed a new deal with Asia, they will cut gas from Europe, sending the price to jump. And that will make Europe come back at the table and say, look, we are removing every sanction if you give us the opportunity to buy your gas so that we can bring the price down. That is the playbook that Russia, Iran, and China have. When it comes to China, they don't have any problems. Matter of fact, ships are going, through the Strait of Hormuz to China. And China can also buy Russian oil. So the plan has been set. And the United States now knows that they're in the most difficult situation ever. Now, the funny thing is when you had the foreign minister of Iran coming on TV, being interviewed by, NBC or one of those. And so they asked him, they said, look, the United States is contemplating sending troops on the ground. How are you going to react? How do you feel about that, right? Now, Iranian foreign minister is very diplomatic. So he answered in a very diplomatic way. But in this particular question, he got out of diplomacy for a while, right? Basically responding, saying, look, we're waiting for them. And the journalist asked him again. It's like, are you sure, to say, and then the Iranian prime minister came back in diplomacy because, he kind of lost himself there. If you don't know those things, you wouldn't know that he actually got out a little bit because it was funny for them. Right? He's thinking like what? We are scared? What army are we even talking about here? Look, let me show you the army that we're talking about, putting boots on the ground, and that the U.S. wants Iran to fear. Look at them. This is the army that you want Iran to fear. If it was me answering that question, they told me, look, are you afraid that we're going to send troops on the ground? I would have laughed first. I would have been like, man, I would have laughed. If you tell me that the Chinese army, and I saw how disciplined they are in their parade, you already know that even in a war, that's how disciplined they are going to be. If you show me the Russian army, and you see what they're doing in Ukraine, discipline and being patient, I would be scared and be like, look, we're not trying to provoke anything. We're just defending ourselves. That would have been my response to any real army. But to the U.S. Army, and you see their parade. Look, I don't have any problem with U.S. soldiers. I respect them a lot. Matter of fact, I have a family member who is in the U.S. military, so I respect them a lot. But I have to say, you have some of the worst leaders, the worst I've ever seen. I will laugh looking at them in the parade. I will know for sure that this is how they're going to run a war. And that is exactly what is happening now without even putting boots on the ground. They don't even know where to go, how to do it. And nobody who can fear an army that has never won a war before. There is not one war, even in Iraq, they killed thousands of American soldiers, and they got out of there losing. And you have CNN that finally confirmed that Israel is stopping the media from showing what is truly going on in Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, all over Israel, because Iran is punishing that country. Let me tell you, man, if you see what is going on there, because they think they can shut the mainstream media up, of course, they're funding them, but they're not going to shut the population. People are talking, even if you don't show videos, people are talking. And people who are there are saying, look, there's an unrest now in the country. People are upset because it is terrible. Every 10 or 12 minutes, 20 minutes, they have to run to a shelter. Missiles are constantly firing there, and it is non-stop. The Iron Dome is done. It barely stops missiles that are coming there. Israel is starting to look like Gaza. And then you had the same CNN, right? The journalists had a visa to enter Tehran in Iran. They got in there and they were driving and showing, right? They were expecting, because CNN is a propaganda media. They were going in there to try to show how there's chaos in Iran. And they got in there, they showed how people are going about their business, right? Stores are open. Things are like there's no conflict in there.
We're making fairly good progress towards Tehran. It is a very, very long drive, though. Some things that we are seeing, we already went past one place where apparently there had just been an airstrike. There was thick black smoke billowing. Other than that, though, it seems as though things are going on, and we certainly don't see any sign of order collapsing here. Quick break for a coffee along the way. We've been driving for several hours. There's a couple of things that we've noticed. Number one is that, first of all the shops are open. All the shops are really well stocked, even with fresh things, like, for instance, fruits and vegetables. Coffee, obviously, also available as well. And then also the gas stations. There's no long lines as gas stations. Fuel seems readily available, and you just don't see any sort of degree of panic anywhere.
And they showed this on TV, and the Trump administration came out and said, oh no, CNN is undermining this mission, and they shouldn't be showing things like that. They don't want you to see the truth. That Iran is calm. Iran is prepared. They're not missing anything. There's food. The government is supporting people. There are shops that are open. You saw millions of people going on the street to bury the children who died. You saw them in the funeral of the Ayatollah. You saw gathering in a country where there is supposed to be a conflict. Why? It's because the air defense system is doing the work. It is working well. It's not perfect. So some of the bombing you are seeing is the little 10% that are going in. But most of the air defense system is doing a good job in Iran. And they don't want you to see that. It is disastrous for the United States. And I don't even want to talk about Israel. I don't know if Israel will still be a country at the end of this conflict. As we continue this conflict, things are getting worse. Most countries in the West are refusing to join Donald Trump in this suicide mission. And what we expect to see now is, even if the United States were to stop and say, look, we're getting out of this because Russia is coming, Iran will continue this just to make sure that in the future, Israel does not have the capacity to ever start a conflict again.